Greetings, young Forgeborn. I am Zwaxor, the mighty, the battlemage of the Tempys clans, and I have taken it upon myself to guide you through the trials of the Forgeborn.
Ugh. With that out of the way, here we go. Hello everyone, this is Zwaxor of SolForge Team A1 Alliance, and I'm going to run through some campaigns for you. With you, even. So, for all you new players out there, SolForge is of course a collectible deck building game developed by SolForge Stoneblade Entertainment, very sorry. And this is the newly released campaign mode, which includes 6 missions. As soon as you complete one, you will unlock the next. And so, I am going to start the first one, and I'm going to walk you through kind of the basics of the game as I do so. So we started out with the one that's called Proving Grounds Tempys. Tempys is one of the 4 factions of SolForge, the others being Alloyin, which is sort of this science fiction, robotic sort of faction, technologically advanced. Tempys is the elements raging against one another, sort of divided into clans representing each of their own elements, with the ruler of the Tempys clan sort of determined at an annual dueling ritual at the sacred grounds of Kadras. And then we have the Necrium, which is composed of necromancers and the corpses that they've raised. And then we have Utera. Don't know if I already mentioned that. Utera is sort of this underground network of lush, overgrown caves with lighting from these glowing mushrooms and shards all over the place. And this is actually special because the world of Solace is frozen because the sun has died out. And the only energy and heat stems from the SolForge itself, which is this huge building that emanates light and magical power into the world of Solace, which is what it's called. And Forgeborn, us, the players, take it upon ourselves to harness the power of this SolForge and battle against one another in an effort to conquer the land of Solace. So the first campaign, the first mission, is called Proving Grounds Tempys. We are allowed to play one deck. Normally in SolForge, you create a 30-card deck of your own, but in this specific campaign, we are given a deck called Tempys Initiate. So I'm gonna choose that. Here we go. And we are immediately faced with Quahog, the Khan of Kadras. He is the current leader of the Tempys clans.
Greetings, I, Quahog, have called for the Uranti Horde to test your might as a Forgeborn. Use this Tempys deck and prove to me your ability to harness the elements of our world.
Alright, so we're presented with this deck. Now, the way things work in SolForge is that you have 2 plays each turn, except if you go first, you only have 1 on the first turn. Whenever you play a card, it levels up. Every card has 3 levels, with some exceptions, but the general rule is they have 3 levels. When you play a card, you take a higher level copy of it and shuffle it into your discard pile. And at the end of each turn, you discard the cards you didn't play, and they go into your discard pile as well. And then by the end of a player level, which is 4 turns, you rank up, which means you shuffle your discard pile into your deck, so you'll now again have 30 cards, but those 7 or 8 cards that you have played will now have the level 2 versions represented inside your deck. So that's exciting. The game board consists of 5 lanes. Each turn, every creature in a lane is going to battle the creature in front of it. And if there is nothing in front of it, it's going to battle the player directly and deal damage to their health, equal to its attack. Players start with 100 health. Except, of course, for creatures that have only been in play for 1 turn, they have this ring, the Forge symbol, which means they cannot attack. Sort of similar to Summoning Sickness in Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone. So what I'm going to play is this Volcanic Giant. At the start of your turn, it deals 1 to 4 damage to an opponent. So it sort of helps me destroy my opponent faster. And this Lava-Fused Aesir, which says each creature you control gets +3 attack while there are no other creatures in its lane. Which means if I play it in lane 1, 4, or 5, you read from left to right, as you would usually do, it will itself get the buff, and this Volcanic Giant will also get it. So I'm going to play it in lane 4. And as you can see, both my creatures are bigger. This explosion point means there's a special ability that's applying to them right now. At this point, it is the Lava Fused Aesir's ability. Oh, the Uranti Horde is yelling at me.
Our war drums will be the last sound you hear, weakling.
Okay, that's violent.
A Yeti just dealt damage to you. You can play a creature of your own across from an enemy creature to protect yourself.
So we might actually want to do that at this point. So what's going to happen now is... We played a Fire Yeti. Okay, so the Fire Yeti doesn't actually do anything, and neither does the Earth Yeti, and the Ice Yeti doesn't really do much either. So these creatures are overall pretty weak compared to ours. Like this is a 1/8, 3/11, 6/14. We have a 5/5, 10/10, 15/15, as well as a 3/6, 6/12, 9/18. So again, our creatures are generally going to be more powerful. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to play the Stonefish Giant. Kind of innocuous at first. It's only a 3/6. It's comparable to what he has on the field. But as it levels up, it has a 9/13, which is quite good for a level 2, and has 16/24, which is among the best stats for a level 3 card. So this is the sort of card that you want to play during the first player level whenever you can sort of get an advantage off of it, which I can now, since if I play it here, when these battle, his is going to take 3 damage, mine is going to take 4, which means I'm left with a 3/2 that's going to become a 6/2 because I have this Lava Fused Aesir. And then I'm going to play this Kadras Colossus in lane 1. Kadras Colossus is a card that is quite good at level 1. 6/6 is very good stats. Level 2, it's 11/11. That's also slightly above the curve for a level 2 card. However, the level 3 version is only a 13/13. So it only grows by 2, where normally it would grow by somewhere between 50 and 100% between levels 2 and 3. So this is a card that you want to close out the game with quickly, so you won't have to deal with drawing the level 3 version. Just a sec. So that's the card I'm going to play. And I'm going to battle and deal 6 damage to my opponent.
You hit strong for a youngling.
Well done. Reduces health to 0 to defeat the Horde. Yeah, so that's the way you win a game of SolForge. There is currently no other way to win the game than to deal damage to a point where your opponent runs out of health. Okay, so what we've drawn here is the card Lightning Spark, first and foremost, which is a spell. There are 2 kinds of cards in SolForge. There are creatures and there are spells. Creatures, you play into a lane, and they do everything I've explained so far. Then you have spells, which are a one-time effect that, just like creatures, when you play them, the level version enters your discard pile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it on this, because when I clear this lane out, this creature will get +3/+0, and at the same time, there's no blocking it currently, so it's going to deal damage directly to my opponent. And at the same time, I'm going to play this creature in front of his Fire Yeti, because that is the only one out of the ones I have. You can see they all have a health of 2, 3, 3. This is the only one that actually survives the attack from the Fire Yeti. And that's generally something you'll want to do when playing SolForge. You want to make these favorable trades that leaves your creature alive while killing theirs. Now I deal 29 to my opponent, and he is hastily going down. I believe this is supposed to be the easiest opponent in the game. Oh, he played a Lightning Spark of his own and played Uranti Warlord. This is a very strong synergistic card in a deck with a lot of Yetis, which is what my opponent is playing. When it enters the field, it deals 3 damage to each creature an opponent controls in the same lane as a Yeti you control. There are quite a lot of Yeti creatures in this game. Most of them are actually in the Tempys faction. You can see that from the red border. And this creature just enables them all. If you have a lot of Yetis on the field, this creature is going to sort of grow in value. And it levels up to become even more powerful. So at this point, what I'm going to do... this creature is interesting, because it's a 7/3, 10/5, 14/7, which are not amazing stats, and it dies quite easily in combat. But what it does do is whenever it deals damage to a player, it deals that much damage again. So it kind of doubles damage to your opponent. So that's a good creature to play in a free lane. And at the same time, I'm going to play this Lightning Brand on it. Because what Lightning Brand does is it says target level 2 or lower creature gets aggressive. Aggressive means the card can attack immediately, similar to Charge out of Hearthstone and Haste out of Magic the Gathering. And that creature also gets +1 attack this turn. So that goes very well with this Brawler, because it gets +1 attack, so it deals 2 more damage. Also, I get to damage my opponent immediately. So I'm going to play that on this Cinderfist Brawler, and I'm going to attack for enough, so that just outright kills my opponent. So that was the first opponent you were going to see in here. So my mission is complete, which means I get some free rewards. I get this Uranti Warlord. So I guess that now that I have bested the Horde of Yetis, I actually get their leader as one of my subjects. And I also get a booster pack, which I can immediately open. Booster packs contain 6 cards. One of them is guaranteed to be a rare or better. I got 2 rares and 4 common cards, which do a lot of different things. I suggest that when you do go play the game, you read the cards before anything else, because a lot of them have very interesting abilities, and sort of the deck building aspect of this game is something that really drives it forward. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the second mission of this campaign. The second mission is the Proving Grounds Alloyin. Alloyin, again, is this this faction, steel, electricity. It's sort of very technologically advanced in this world that generally doesn't have a lot of technology. It's more magic based, and this is against Ironbeard, Hammer of Anvillon, who is the leader of the Alloyin faction, just like Quahog was the leader of the Tempys faction. And he said,
"Ah, the initiate of whom Quahog speaks so highly. If you wish to challenge the mighty Ironbeard, you will need to harness more than just the elements. The Alloyin focus their minds on superior strategy and technology. Let us see how you command the armies of Anvillon." Anvillon being the capital of Alloyin. "My friend, take note of the Anvillon enforcer that has just entered the field. The icon on the card tells you how much armor the creature has. Armor will prevent an amount of damage to that creature each turn." So as he mentioned, armor 2 means it prevents 2 damage each turn to this creature. So it's going to be harder to take down. So what I'm actually going to play... Quahog has listened to teach you still. Yeah, these exclamation points mean that something is up with the player. In this campaign, it's mostly just lore stuff. "The high-tech army of Anvillon includes an impressive array of robots, including heavily armored artillery units and small attack bots with potent energy weapons." Okay, so I have some options here. The first thing I'm going to do is play this Forgeplate Sentry. Forgeplate Sentry is very powerful because it levels quite well. You see, the level 1 is a 4/4 card with armor 1, meaning it prevents 1 damage to it every turn, which translates to a 4/5 or better. Like, it's at least going to take 5 damage to take it down, possibly more. The level 2 is a 9/9 with armor 3, which means at least a 9/12. And as I said before, Stonefist Giant, which is a 9/13 at level 2, is one of the strongest level 2 cards, at least among the cards that are available in this part of the game. And then you have the level 3, which is a 15/20 or better. And as soon as your health gets high enough, the armor is going to stack up, because if you can't deal 20 the first time, it's going to basically heal 5 damage after he does it. So I'm going to play that. I'm not going to block this because it's virtually a 5/6 because of the armor, so it's not really favorable for me to try and block it at this point. So I'm going to play that in an empty lane, and then I'm going to play the Citadel Guard, which is an 8/9, 12/13, 25/30. Now, that, of course, is the stats of a legendary card, basically, on its own. But the fact is, it has Defender, which means it doesn't start a battle. Which means unless there's something in front of it that's attacking, it will never attack. It still deals damage in combat if his attacks mine, which would be next turn, which is why I'm playing it in front of his, because Defenders, generally, you want to play in front of a creature to get as much value out of them as possible. There are cards which remove the Defender ability from a creature, making it able to attack. I don't know if any of those are actually in this deck, but we'll have to see. The Nexus core your opponent played has another keyword icon. That icon signals the creature is a defender and will not attack you.
So Nexus core is a pretty bad card. It doesn't have any attack, just has a lot of health. It's sort of a buffer. Sort of you can keep the same small creature out of the way for a long time. Okay, so at this point I'm going to play this other Forgeplate Sentry in front of the Scout Drone because it has armor, so it's only going to take 1 damage from it. Scout Drone is a card that becomes free, meaning it doesn't take up one of your 2 plays at levels 2 and 3. So the level 2 is very weak, but the level 2 and 3 have virtually no downside. So you just get the card for free later on. And then I'm actually going to play this Sparkblade Assassin, which is a 4-5, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's, again, similar to the Kadras Colossus from before. It has a passable level 1, a very strong level 2, and a sort of passable level 3. It trades a bit of its level 2, level 1 strength for some level 3 strengths as compared to the Colossus. And this one I'm just going to play empty lane. Again, there's no reason to try to attack this because it doesn't really get me anywhere, since it's not going to be threatening anytime soon. Also, a good rule of thumb in SolForge. You see, I had the option of playing Electronet or Aegis Pulse. In general, creatures are going to be better than spells, because creatures actually help you win the game, and spells are more sort of able to set up good, favorable trades for you. But as my opponent doesn't really have anything on the board, I'd rather just develop my deck with good level creature cards. So I'm going to battle and pass the turn. Interesting. Okay, so my opponent played Brightsteel Sentinel, which is a legendary card. When it enters the field, robots you control get 5 armor this turn. So that means that if you can play it in a good spot, it's actually going to save your entire army from dying in combat. As you can see, Scout Drone is a robot, Sparkbot is a robot, and Nexus Core is also a robot. Which means actually his Scout Drone survived the attack from my Forgeblade Sentry. And it also gains 5 armor itself, so it didn't take any damage from my other Forgeblade Sentry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press battle first, because you can play cards before or after battling. That's your own choice. I'm going to play this Technosmith in front of it. Technosmith had the ability that when it enters the field, you may discard and level it. And level a card and level it. That's what it says. Meaning I can choose any card in my hand, discard it, and it will, the level 2 version will be put in my discard pile. I'm going to choose the Steel Shaper Savant, because Steel Shaper Savant doesn't do anything in level 1, but at level 2 it rewards me for playing lower level Alloyin spells, meaning if I don't draw my level 2 Alloyin spells, or Alloyin cards, I actually get to boost my level 1 cards, which adds a lot of consistency to my deck. So I'm going to level that. I'm going to play this Metamind Operator. The reason I'm doing this is because while its attack doesn't scale all that well into the late game, its health does, meaning that if you place this, for example, in front of a 16-16, they're still going to trade. They're still both going to die in combat, because over the first battle phase, none of them are going to die, but they're going to lose more than half of their health. This card is generally going to be good, and right now I am ahead on the board. Like, I just have more creatures than my opponent. So I would just rather play something to the board in order to further this board position I already have. So let's see what he does. The Robot Army. Initiate rank 2 protocol. Preparing to deploy level 2 robots. So this means he has ranked up.
Look out, Forgeborn! Your opponent has increased in rank. This means his discard pile has been shuffled together to reform his deck. Now the robot will be able to play level 2 cards.
Yeah, so since Quahog never got that far, I guess he's telling me that now. This means that, of course, he is going to be able to draw his level 2 cards. Okay, so I look at the board here, and what I see is, if I press battle now, these two are going to trade. My Sentry is going to die, and his Nexus Core is going to take 4 damage. In my hand, I have this card called Matrix Warden. Matrix Warden is an interesting creature, the one we call a utility creature, in that it's not just a creature that can actually attack your opponent and trade with his creatures, but it also has an ability that increases the potency of your other creatures. What this does, it gives target creature you control +3 attack. And if I give this +3 attack, it's actually going to be large enough to trade with the Sparkbot. So it's virtually going to kill one of his creatures to use this. Because it was going to kill my Forgeblade Sentry anyway. So I'm going to play this and pump out the Sentry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to battle. And then I'm going to play Nexus Tactician. What Nexus Tactician does is it says if it's in the center lane, other creatures you control get armor 2. So if I place this here in the center lane, you can see the armor symbol pops up on both of my other guys, which means they're going to have 2 damage prevented to them every turn. So that's quite strong.
You have drawn a level 2 card after increasing in rank last turn. Each new level of card is stronger than the last. You should consider playing higher level cards whenever you have the chance. That's very good advice, Quahog, and that's definitely true.
because you want to be ahead on board and all that. You generally just want to play your high level cards whenever you have the chance. Okay, so there's really no reason to not attack first here, because my creatures aren't going to attack if I play them now anyway. Okay, so what I see here is this 9-12. Both of the level 2 cards I have do have 12 attack. But because this has a defense, I'm going to place a creature in front of either of his. Because they're both smaller in attack than mine have health. So I am just going to eat them, so to speak. But because this one has higher attack, I'm going to play the one that has Defender in front of that. Because that's the one I cared the least about having taken damage. And then I'm going to play the other one in front of his Battle Droid. Battle Droid is an interesting card. You can see it has only 1 health at all levels, but it has as much armor as it has attack. So if you can reduce its health somehow, it dies very quickly. But just through normal damage, it will actually take quite a beating every turn in order to kill it. Because if you deal less than the amount of armor it has in a given turn, it's just going to heal back up the turn after. See, here he plays the Scout Drone for free. Alright. I have options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the card called Bulwark Bash. Target creature you control with armor deals damage equal to its armor to target creature an opponent controls. Which means I can target any one of my 2 armor creatures to kill the Scout Drone to keep my Nexus Tactician alive for another turn. This is very useful because next battle phase, this creature is still going to have its 2 armor, and this as well, which means that it's going to be much harder to kill. So I'm going to target this as my creature with armor, and then target his Scout Drone to deal it 2 damage, meaning it kills it. Then I'm going to battle, and afterwards I'm going to play Technosmith in front of his creature, and I'm going to level this, because going into player level 3, which is where you're going to draw your most powerful cards, when you don't draw your level 3 cards, you're going to fall behind. The thing is, this card as a level 2 is close in power level to a level 3 card. So if I use this on this, it's going to be a good draw no matter what in a few turns' time. He plays his leveled Brightsteel Sentinel. That's very good. Because this actually means that he's going to trade across the board almost. So what I want to do here is, again, press battle first, because I don't have space to play any of my creatures. So I'm just going to press battle. And now I don't have a lot of slots for my creatures to go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Steel Shaper Savant. As I said, whenever I play an Alloyin card that's lower level than itself, basically, I get to put 2 armor on target creature I control. Seeing as I do have a level 2 Alloyin card, I would rather play that, to be honest, because it's just more powerful. Even with the 2 armor, none of these cards are worth playing over this. Also because this card levels into a very powerful level 3 card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace my Metamind Operator, because that is my smallest creature. And what this means is I can simply just put this on top of it, and the operator will die. Nothing else happens. It's just the card that's actually on the board that just dies. We play this War Tinker. The War Tinker is an interesting card because it allows him to play a level 1 robot for free that turn. So it's similar to Scout Drone, but it's slightly limited as well. The difference is this card actually is potentially a free play. If you were going to play the robot anyways, you might as well play this 2/2 first. So it's potentially free at level 1, but it's more limited in its freeness, so to speak. So what I feel like doing here is actually playing this card called Aegis Pulse. Normally not a very powerful card, it just gives each creature I control 1 armor. But because I have this Steel Shaper Savant, and because this creature is getting into a battle, I can actually get this guy's armor up to a point where he only takes 1 damage from my opponent's Sparkbot. Also, my lanes are full at this point, so I don't have like a lot of better plays. So I'm going to play this Aegis Pulse and put 2 armor on the Forgeblade Sentry. Then I'm going to battle. And then after battling, I'm actually going to play this Operator on top of my Nexus Tactician. Because, again, my other creatures are just better, and this ensures that I can kill his Nexus Core quicker. And that, again, I am more ahead on the board because I simply have more big creatures. He loves his Nexus Cores, doesn't he? Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play this Matrix Warden, which at level 2 gives +5 attack to a creature, and put the 5 attack on my Steel Shaper Savant so I get rid of this Nexus Core, because it's just in the way, frankly. After battle, I'm going to replace the Citadel Guard, because again, it has Defender, it's not going to be attacking anyways. Play this Technosmith, and I'm going to level the Scrapforge Titan. Because Scrapforge Titan is a card that is very weak at level 1, you can see it's just a 1-1 with armor 1. Level 2, it's a 5-5 with armor 5, which is fine. It can trade with a 9-9, for example, because the 9-9 is going to deal 9 damage to it, which is not enough to kill it, because they have 5 armor, which is 10 health. And then it's going to battle again the next turn. But at level 3, it's 20-20 with armor 10. That's better than a 20-30, which, again, is immense for a level 3 card. So I'm going to level this on the hopes that if the game goes to that point, I get to level it again at some point. And as you can see, we've actually passed into player level 3 at this point. Alright, so what happens now is my opponent's at 16 health. I have a 6-14 and an 11-10 going into his face right now, which means the game is actually over. I can just kill him. So I am just going to skip the funny business and just press battle. And I win. I have beaten the Robot Army. And I get an Uranti Battle Droid. Once again, I've conquered the Robot Army. I get a robot. And also a booster pack, which I'm going to open. Let's see what we get. I got a Heroic, a Cacklebones. I don't actually believe I have a full set of those yet. That's amazing. Cacklebones is a card that does a lot of things. It's a 4-5, 9-7, 15, 12. So its stats are okay, but what it does is when it enters the field, it destroys target level 1 creature an opponent controls. At level 2, it's level 2 or lower. Level 3, it's level 3 or lower. That is very good. But it comes with a drawback. That creature's controller may play an additional card next turn. So there's a drawback. It's a very real drawback. Your opponent gets a free card. He gets to, so to speak, scout drone one of his other cards. So he actually just gets a bigger scout drone. And he gets to level one of his good cards. But at the same time, you did just take down one of his cards. So it's sort of an equal trade, but there are a lot of factors that are going to play into it. Like there are, for example, a card that says when your opponent plays his second card of his or her turn, he discards the rest of his hand. Meaning if he has any free cards to play after that, he doesn't get to play them. This card is a very good combo with that, for example. But there are all these sort of intricate little synergies between the cards in this game. And yeah, that was a walkthrough of the first 2 missions of the SolForge campaign. I'm going to go through the other ones at a later time, but for now, thank you all very much for watching, and stay classy, Forgeborn.